and a warm welcome to our Augmented Reality Multi-User Virtual Spaces project. This is a mutual project between two institutions, one from Italy and the other from Serbia. So the first institution is called NABA, Nuova Accademia di Belle Arti in Milan, and the other one, as a host institution today, is ARS Institute from Belgrade, Serbia. Today we are in Belgrade, but just a year ago, the same team was scattered across the globe. Some of us were in Colombia, in Bogota, some of us were in Milan, some of us were in Belgrade, and I'm very happy that, that my colleagues and myself are here in Belgrade today. I am Dr. Marija Koprivica-Leličanin, and I have this immense pleasure to start today's presentations. In my role today as a host, actually, it could have been any of us, because with these colleagues, I shared the same tasks and responsibilities for a very, very long time. As a former campus academic coordinator here at ARS Institute Belgrade for almost a decade, and also as an international teacher in many places, including Milan. So. We shared, as I said, many of different tasks, roles, discussions on how to improve our teaching experience and methodology. And in one of these discussions, actually, I found, I was really excited and happy to see that in another institution, a little bit far away from Serbia, there are colleagues that share the same enthusiasm and the same challenges. It was more or less in the post-pandemic period. So together with my colleagues from Milan, we discussed how we can make all of us closer and closer, not only the students, but also us as teachers. So this is how the whole project was conceived. Once again, the project is called Augmented Reality Multi-User Virtual Spaces project, and it really reflects this post-pandemic mood and necessities. It was a 2-year research initiative developed collaboratively by NABA and SAE. It was made possible through the Erasmus Plus program's partnership in vocational education and training. And now I would like to introduce you, first of all, with my colleagues from Milan. Today with us is Dr. Elisa Poli. She's a program leader senior at NABA Research Center and Innovation Hub. Hello. Next to Yes, hello once again. Next to Elisa is Professor Andrea Maggiolo, course advisor leader at NABA Academy, Milan, and also remotely the mastermind behind all this project, Emanuele Lomello, media laboratory manager at NABA Academy, Milan. He is following us remotely, and I will explain you. Hi, Emanuele, nice to see you. Hello. I will explain. Hi. I will explain very soon why you are in Milan and why we are here in Belgrade. I also have a pleasure and honor to introduce you with my colleagues from Belgrade, Dr. Smiljka Jovanović, Campus Academic Coordinator at ARS Institute Belgrade. Hi.
Hello. Just quickly to say hi. It's a real pleasure to have our guests here. On behalf of SAE Belgrade, I wish you all a warm welcome, and we can't wait to hear and see more about this project.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Also, Professor Predrag Milošević, Head of Animation and VFX and Game Art and Animation. Also, Professor Andrea Hamović, Head of Digital Film Department. You will hear more from them very soon. It is my privilege, actually, today to present SAE, and here at SAE we all feel at home. SAE is a home of creative people. It is a home for creatives, and it's been like that for more than 40 years. The SAE Institute globally started actually as a very small school in the 70s in Australia, but very soon, first, of course, it was founded as a sound audio education school, schools only for audio production, but very soon other creative industries saw its potential, and the school spread its education and departments through other creative industries as well. So not only audio production, but also music business, digital film production, animation, web department, web design and development, and so on. So today, SAE is a very, very large network of creative people. There are more than 10,000 students globally, worldwide, in more than 50 campuses, actually in more than 30 countries in the world. SAE Belgrade joined to this family in 2010. At SAE Belgrade, we run 4 departments, the department in audio production, the department in animation. Animation actually consists of VFX and animation and game art and animation, and also digital film production and web design and development. The whole program is very, very intensive. It is condensed. It's a Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Studies program condensed in a 2-year period, which means that at the end of the studies, the students can obtain 180 CTS. And the whole program is organized through different levels with different milestones and tasks. At level 4, the main task for our student is to obtain technical literacy and this technical knowledge. At level 5, the program is more oriented towards collaboration and collaborative projects. And at level 6, we aim to develop professionalism and autonomous approach to industry tasks and to industry standards that the students will encounter once they graduate. So what is actually in common for all 3 levels is that the education is very hands-on. We nurture this hands-on approach. We nurture also strong industry connections, and we have very, how to say, we are keen on applying cutting-edge technologies. Now let me share with you our today's agenda. So I will read it just not to forget something. First, we will discover how the partnership was born between our institutions. We will learn about the European grants perspectives and the need to improve innovation in the design schools, the research system, and the relevancy of the pedagogical and didactical implications from Dr. Elisa Poli. Then I will outline the project itself, only its conceptual side. After, we will delve a little bit deeper into the project characteristics, thanks to Professor Predrag Milošević from SAE, who will actually briefly explain what happened in different stages of virtual building experimentation and other different stages of the project, followed by the presentation of Professor Andrea Hamović, who will tell us more about the project's perspective in the film industry. And finally, the highlight of today's presentation is actually will be the presentation of our guest from Milan, Professor Andrea Maggiolo, together with Emanuela Lomello, who will deliver a practical technical presentation of the remote system. They will lead to a practice demonstration segment streamed from multiple angles, one set in Milan, another here from Belgrade in the real time. Elisa, would you like to present? Yes. Tell us more about the
Thank you
project.
so much, Maria, for the introduction. Thank you, SAE Belgrade, for hosting this event that I guess we all were really keen to see, because it is really an experimentation, is what the European Union wanted from us, and how also the project started. So I would say that you explained perfectly how is SAE, and there were already relations between SAE and NABA. NABA, Nuova Accademia di Belle Arti, is the biggest Italian Academy of Fine Arts, is private but legally recognized, with 2 venues, the biggest one in Milan, a huge campus, and the other one in Rome. We also share a common interest toward technologies for art and design, but also as a way to understand the contemporary world. Moreover, is a language that younger generation are speaking much better than we do, at least I do, because I'm very far from that technology, but I understand the need, and I understood very fast, thanks to my colleagues, that this was also a way to short the distances between students and between future professionals. So as in every relationship, probably we knew each other, but we left also something unknown that we are discovering little by little during these fantastic 2 years of work, which are not finished. There will be a huge, big event at the end in Milan. But I'm very happy also that we hosted this one here in Belgrade, because that gave me the opportunity also to discover this beautiful city. So, very good. Thanks to the European Commission. In which frame we started this project? This is a KA 210, meaning a small-scale project. NABA started in 2021 a research center. I was called to help the developing of this center. And at the very beginning, we wanted to try to make something. We needed to know very well the partner. Every project needs to have an understanding between partners. You must know the people you're working with. But as I said, then what happened in 2 years can make the difference. So with SAE, thanks also to my colleagues, which taught in SAE, they knew you, they knew very well the institution, we understood that it was an easy way to convey our interest toward technology. I have to say also that thanks to the great expertise of all the 4 teachers involved and the assistants involved, we were able to manage something that otherwise would have been bigger than the amount of 60 grand that was given for this project. But the project was for the students. Every project, in my opinion, must have a research development. Has to bring something new also, something that somehow advanced, create something that is very valuable for the community. And this was the case. You will talk then more specifically about the phases of the project. But I would like just to say that it was a huge commitment for all of us to start working on something that haven't been done yet. And try to push it in the classes was even harder probably, but it was also a lot of fun because I saw the results, and was absolutely astonishing. That vocational educational training is the frame in which we work, a small scale, and the output must bring a huge connection between students and companies, showing that what the students are learning in their institution is valuable for the job market, but not generically, specifically in a domain that in this case was virtual reality. So this allowed us also to think together, and I'm talking about you, Olivera and Emanuele, when we start working on the contents of the project, to understand that this is also peer-to-peer work, because students can also tell each other what they know, what they don't know yet. Technology goes very fast. And maybe we are bringing also something to the companies that are with us in this path and are really precious to us. I'm sure then my colleagues will explain better about this side of companies. So I would just to say that the Italian agency that allowed us to start the project is INAP, is a very, very good agency that not only showed interest in our research and tentative, but supported us during the year, little by little, explaining how we had to deal with the contents of the project. And they were helping us to build something that is even bigger than what we thought at the beginning. In my opinion, there is a huge value on working on the European projects. They all come for this family from the Erasmus Plus project that has been extended so much and is now divided in KA1, KA2, and KA3. The KA1 is the one for the mobility. I don't know if all of us, but at least I benefit a lot from the KA1. I studied abroad and I discover, and my mind was also changed a lot because I had this huge opportunity. This morning, someone, a colleague which is here, said something about the idea of inclusion and understanding the other. And that was possible for me only because I had the possibility to travel with the Erasmus Plus project. And the KA1 now include also mobility for the staff, which helps a lot building trust and discover what other institutions are doing, maybe understanding better if there are common grounds to develop our research like we did. But the KA2 allowed to develop projects on 3 different levels. One level is what we did. So it's 2 partner project, starting from something small, but understand that the topic is relevant and can become something big, so can be further developed. The second is to do a medium-scale project. We have also the HEAD, higher education project, and in this case is much more focused on the didactical advancement, while this one was more about the relation with the job market. The third level is to build alliances with other universities, other institutions. I would say someone that even in the small scale, we were able to manage the 3 level. And for that, I've just to say thank you to all the people involved in the project. I don't want to steal more of your time, especially because I'm sure my colleagues want to show and explain what the project is about. But again, thank you very much, Erasmus+. Thank you very much, SAI and NABA, for allowing us to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa, for this lovely institutional introduction. It was very, very insightful. And as you already outlined, the project itself it represents an important interplay between academia and research, between creative media industries, and between art and technology. So from this perspective, it is a unique project. This led us to explore the world of augmented reality and test its potential in a classroom environment, which is, once again, a good relationship between the real world and the classrooms, and between education on another side. So to illustrate this mindset, me as an Italianist, I will allow myself to go a little bit far away from digital realities in which we all live today. So I would like to remind you about one almost contemporary Italian writer. His name is Italo Calvino. And in the 80s, Italo Calvino delivered a series of inspirative lectures at Harvard that were also published after he died. And each of these lectures was actually dedicated to one of the key characteristics of the new millennium. So the titles of the lectures were lightness, quickness, exactitude, visibility, multiplicity, and consistency. All the elements of our project. That's what I would like to believe, honestly. Okay, so Calvino begins his talk on visibility by actually mentioning Dante. This is really homage to my friends, to my Italian friends. So he starts by mentioning Dante and the verse from Purgatorio. I will not say it in Italian, but I will paraphrase it in English, like, fantasy is a place where it rains. That can be understood as a poetic way of saying that creativity and imagination are like a space or realm where new ideas and inspirations continuously flow, similar to rain falling from the sky. A very similar picture can be found also in Shakespeare, in The Merchant of Venice. Shakespeare calls this rain actually as a gentle rain that is twice blessed. It blesses both the receiver, the student in this case, but also it blesses us as teachers. And to be able to create this kind of realm where imagination and creativity flow with unstoppably, we actually had to rely on technology, which brings us to the topic, which is virtual reality and augmented reality. Virtual reality offers almost lifelike and convincingly real experiences in a synthetic or virtual domain, while augmented reality, on the other hand, enriches our tangible reality by overlaying computer-generated information onto it. And that will be the topic we will delve much more deeper and much more in depth. You will hear more about it by my colleagues. So the project was delivered into different stages. It consisted of 7 actually stages: research, virtual cell building, virtual set class experimentation, hybrid set building, that's where we are now, hybrid set class experimentation, And then, as we heard from Elisa, at the end of the project, there will be a huge party, festa, where we will actually disseminate and share through different workshops and lectures. We will share the main findings and outline the further perspectives. Our overarching goal was to design multi-user virtual spaces where the students can interact with their virtual surroundings, redefining creative practice by expanding the horizons of experimentation between the real and the virtual. Our project encompassed 3 different stakeholders: students, around 200 of them from Italy and Serbia, aged between 18 and 25, different classes, different origins, of course, genders, everything. Faculty, around 14 teachers were involved throughout the different segments of the project, different departments, creative technologies, game art and animation, and now we will go through towards digital film production. And at the end, industry. Industry and the relationship between with the industry was actually in 2 directions. We were trying to simulate what was going on, what is already going on, what already became industry standard and what already became industry tendency. We were trying to replicate it and to simulate it in the classrooms. And in another direction, we created future professionals that we will be more equipped, better equipped for their future endeavors and professional adventures. So now, I would like to invite our dedicated teachers who have experienced this project within the classroom to share their first-hand experiences. I would like to invite Professor Predrag Milošević from Animation Department at SAE Institute, Belgrade. He's our head of Animation Department. Predrag, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maria. First, I like to thank you. First, our NABA guests that came to our university and visit. We actually started our collaboration and to initiate collaboration first, not just between the staff, but also between the students. We agreed to implement the part of tasks of our project and align it with our academic program. And as a first step in that collaboration, we actually connected one of the assignments for SA student on a degree program in game art to actually create like a concept arts and initial demo assets to provide material to work with. And I want to say it was a great opportunity for them actually to have this type of task, to actually have the access to latest cutting-edge technology in virtual environment. Now they provided 3 initial directions in art, which kind of we shared with NABA students, and they took it as an initial artwork and pushed it further, and as a result of that they designed the set that virtual set that we are going to see later on. Of course, the final design is heavily upgraded for this initial stuff, but actually it was kind of mutually beneficial on different levels. I would like also to say something about the project, and as we start our collaboration, we thought it's kind of very, very brave because the project has a lot of potential on different levels. First, I think it's kind of have a very good perspective to change the way we educate people, not just in this industry, but in a very different area of studies, of expertise, and it's highly applicable and scalable. I think the main benefit of this project, it is highly motivational for students, and it provides totally different way of learning of what we kind of used to was the learning method and kind of lecturing, and it kind of push the boundary of contemporary education. And I think for this side, it has very high potential, and I would really like to kind of see this project kind of extends and actually inspire both like the educational institutions, but also the industry, media industry, to kind of not just kind of to appreciate the results that we get from the project, but also to take the education and potential of this kind of mutual efforts to see the things from different perspective. And I think it's very important because as our experience through this project is, it was highly motivational for the student to take participation in something that is kind of new and still in an experimental stage. And I really want to thank NABA University to providing us access to this technology that is kind of rare, not just here, but worldwide. I think not many of the universities possess this type of hardware. And also to share the part of their know-how with us as well. So, in that thing, I think these are the first but very important steps towards something which will be the future in worldwide education. So it's going to change, I think, the perspective of how we look at the modern education. And we successfully finished this part of the project. Now we need to in the next stage, we need to implement this project as a remote collaboration, which we'll have opportunity to witness today. And also the film students for our department will participate in testing the remote collaboration in virtual environment. And our colleague Andrea Hamovic, the head of film department, will tell us something more about that. And later on, Andrea Maggiolo will kind of demonstrate the practical part of how our efforts actually look in the current stage. So I will hand over to Andrea and then to Andrea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peja. I would like to share my satisfaction for being a part of this small but selected crew. And I would like to welcome once more our guests from Italy, and hopefully we will get the opportunity to share these kind of events and occasions on many times more. Everything that my colleagues previously mentioned stands. It is a unique challenge of ours to understand where we stand against evolution of digital environment on any given way of our contemporary lives. Being engaged on a university level, it does ask questions on both humanistic and industry-based levels. And it's up to us to understand how the options evolve and what are our potential ways to make it better and bigger for us as well as the community. Digital evolution and enhancements are happening pretty much on daily basis, and it is a pace and a race hard to follow and to catch. Yet redefining our practices and understanding how different our treatment of all of these elements within the course of studies, within the course of pedagogy and education is something that we just have to look forward to and look into, not only to keep up to date, but to provide our students with options that will yet to become. Having said that, NABA University and its facility in Milan is something, as Peja mentioned, quite extraordinary. It's not a common thing. It's not of any usual or expected standards when it comes to education. It's cutting edge. It's high level of production, high level of engagement on both hardware and software implementation. That being said, being part of this kind of exchange is a very straightforward line of bringing our students as close as possible to something which is the highest possible standards of the industry that we are engaged with. Film industry is a playground. All of our work is creating realities that do not exist. All of our stories to be told are to be developed and set within the form and shape of upgraded and constructed reality. I'm talking about conventional filmmaking, and all of a sudden now we have the opportunity to elevate it even further and to upgrade it into something that was out of reach not that many years before. Augmented reality, virtual reality sets being displayed in this kind of a setup really extends the idea of basic filmmaking and film narratives as they are. The influence and the impact of these kind of pipelines and workflows is placed and is recognizable in basic pre-production operation of any given project, development of the idea, creating the script, treating the narrative throughout, is heavily influenced by the final output and the treatment within these kind of production circumstances. So yes, the scale and the importance of implementing this set of skills and understanding the capability of these advanced systems is something that is happening in classroom for film students as we speak. Number of steps of the process for which I claim, and that's something that my students are aware of, the process of filmmaking, which is set 100 years ago, didn't change that much. The tools that we are using evolved, the tools that we are using changed. All of a sudden, even some basic principles of filmmaking are to take another form and another shape, just because we have the capacity to play around with the tools that were really not something to be counted on a couple of years ago, and now they're sitting at the palm of our hands. Not to drain the audience further, Pedja did mention a valuable idea of collaboration and exchange. This opened up possibilities for our students to engage with the design and basic art treatment of the future virtual sets for their projects. No matter the film aspect and film production aspect, the idea of students communicating and designing the look of the final project is highly valuable, and it's really a cross-department collaboration being set at the best possible way. Our students will be engaging more specifically with the development and delivery of the scripts, storyboards, and all of the pre-production documentation for the projects that will be produced early January and February next year, and all of it will sum up into exclusive and amazing outputs, hopefully springtime next year. I'm handing over the floor and the mic to Andrea. Andrea will take us to Milan, and from there we will actually learn how far we can actually go. And I'm looking forward to see it as well.
Well, thank you, Andrea, Predrag, Maria, everyone. Well, it's really a pleasure to be here today and to have the occasion to present this kind of project, and also to present the technical approach that we had to this project. Before getting into the technical stuff, I want to kind of play a little session of Mythbusters here, and because there's a lot of talking about virtual production, professionals and not professionals, everybody is saying what they think, but there's also a lot of false information or wrong information around, and well, there are a few things that are basically wrong, and people are convinced of it about virtual production. And the three things is that one, it's new, it's not really new. One is cheaper, which is not, and it's faster, which is not, and it's greener, which is not. So let's try to place some things in the right position, some check boxes, and together let's try to understand what actually is that we are going to do with students. Then we are going to see how we are going to do it. If you can give me my screen for a second. Okay, so basically I think everybody knows this show. This is The Mandalorian, the fourth season. It came out less than a couple of years ago, and it was amazing. LED volumes, reflections, incredible landscapes, like a Western in space inside of the Star Wars universe. And everybody was really happy about this, and everybody was saying, oh, finally, we have a use for virtual production. Well, The Mandalorian is the last stage of virtual production, but if we go just one step down memory lane, we can go back to 2000, so 23 years ago, and we already did virtual production. The focus was mostly on motion, not much on the imagery, but the motion of bodies. And, well, we had with a digital creating Gollum for the first time. So one of the very first digital characters completely controlled by a human body. And they created it that it could interact with live action scenes in live action environment, so on location. And for 23 years ago, this was something completely incredible. Of course, this thing evolved, and evolves on two different levels. One level is the motion and performance capture, and the other level is the environment and the image. We had many advancements, slow advancements. For example, we got to have movies like Elita, just like 3 years ago, which brought motion capture and performance capture to an incredible level, so a completely digital character that takes all the animation from a real body, inserted into real sets and interacting with real objects, and creating something really, really interesting from a visual perspective. But this is applied to human bodies. Well, Avatar is another example of this. But we are not going to actually work on this with students. We are going to focus on another aspect of virtual production, the one that came about in the last 5-6 years, which is the use of LED volumes for set extension. So to use LED panels, LED screens, together with physical sets and physical scenography in order to create an environment that is more controllable by the technicians, it's more to the likeness of the director, and it's well integrated in itself. Maybe somebody can recognize this image. It's from Murder on the Orient Express. So the first uses of LED volumes before The Mandalorian were to just expand the world, usually outside of something that already exists. So in this case, it's the world outside of the train. So we can see the actual environment from the windows when the shots are taken inside of a train. And to do something like this, it's really, really complex. You need to take into account lighting, which is dynamic lighting, so things change because there's motion, because there's animation. You need to take into account the materials that you use to create the scenography, because the materials that you use need to be compatible with what an LED volume can reproduce. You need to take into account the positioning of the camera, its motion around the set, so that the lighting changes accordingly, and all these kind of things. Then what happened? COVID happened, and we couldn't go on set like this. And so we got to The Mandalorian, where the set was reduced to really a small crew, a lot of digital assets and digital elements controlled live on set. This requires a lot of knowledge that is not really around. All the main companies, all the main studios are still building pipelines and ways to work with LED volumes. And they are actually testing day by day or week by week, month by month, new technologies, new instruments, new tools. What happened with the COVID-19 is that, we found out that we could do this also remotely. So we could leverage, some native elements of Unreal Engine, for example, which is the real-time engine mostly used for these kind of things, which is a game engine, so it has basically multiplayer tools inside to have not exactly multiplayer, but like a multi-artist session that allows to work all together. So this is something that is done in many fields, game as well. You have artists all over Europe or the world, and they work on the same project remotely, and they manage different assets, and they do different things. But one thing is doing it for something that is then going to come out. Another thing is do it for something that is happening live, which requires a way to control hardware, connections, to level the tools so that you can manage a complex project through a laptop, like we are going to do in a few minutes, a few seconds, let's say. That's not all of it. We have another big issue with these things, is that, as I was saying, most of the virtual production is bringing physical elements inside of a digital world. And, if I work remotely through a laptop, there's nothing physical. So the next step is to create a system that allows us to work remotely together with a physical set. And this is where our colleagues that are right now in Milan come into play. We've got Emanuele Lomello and Leonardo Villa live from Milan that are going to manage and use the actual physical elements into our virtual studio. And now I will pass the ball to Emanuele so he can show you the setup of the studio and a few things in there. And then we're going to see how I can interact from here with them. So, Emanuele, it's up to you.
Yeah, thank you, Andrea. Super beautiful being here and showing you what we are able to do in our lab. This lab is not so big, okay, but there are important technologies, and we are developing important techniques. Here, actually, in front of the camera, I'm alone, but as you said before, Andrea, there's Leonardo Villa, our specialist in virtual production, that is helping me to showing you all the technologies and all the techniques that we are using and developing here in NABA. Today, I'm trying to explain you the most important part about the virtual production. For me, the virtual production is interesting because there are two important things. One is about the VFX in camera, and another one is about the pre-production. The technologies and techniques that we are using are about the real time. And with these new technologies, we are able to change a lot the pipeline for the cinema industry. So the part, so our work is about developing new elements, new techniques and new instrument actually, but our work is also about the relationship in between the people and try to understand how to develop new pipelines and new approaches about the cinema. Today, I will show you how we can work with the LED volume and how to use the virtual cameras to analyze and to observe the new environment, digital environment during the pre-production phase. Well, about the virtual production and the VFX in camera. It means that we have big screens that are able to change in real time the images, and it's this kind of element. It's very important because usually when we have to work with digital environments, so historically speaking, usually if you use a classical technique, you are, as actor, you are inside of a big green screen, and after the shooting, you can delete the green and you can add the digital environment. One of the trouble, for example, is that actors, directors, the DOP are not able to see directly the final results, but they have to use their imagination to try to understand the correct direction of the shooting. In this case, not. With the virtual production, you are able to see in camera the final results. Well, to do that, we need two big things. One is having an LED volume and a system that is able to realize the frames in real time. And another important element is the digital position of the digital camera that has to match with the real camera. So when we talk about the virtual production and the VFX in camera, we have to create a physical match in between the digital environment and the physical environment. And when we move the real camera, we have to move also the digital camera that we are using for the digital environment, because we have to respect the perspective. No, the digital perspective and the real perspective has to match to create the fake impression of a new environment. To do that, we are using Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine is an engine that usually you use for a game. And for the tracking system, we are using an optical tracking system with digital with cameras. Here in our lab, you are able to see 12 cameras with a blue circle. These cameras are able to understand the position of this kind of rigid body with these, okay, you can see that, okay, with these dots. Each camera, each light that you can use inside of a virtual production set has this kind of virtual rigid body. When we move the rigid body, the cameras and the optical mock-up system are able to understand the position, movement, or rotation of these elements. And for the camera, we are able to create a match in between the digital camera and the physical camera that has on the top this kind of a rigid body. We are using the mock-up system in a lot of different system or approaches, and I will show you some of them. Well, one of the most important parts of the virtual production and the LED volume is about the background. But actually, we are using the LED volumes not only for the images that you are able to see on the background, but also for the illumination. Now, in this set, please, Leo, could you show us the big, okay, thank you. Well, in this case, you are able to see the digital environment, okay, and that is on the back, on the sides, and on the top. And on the top, you are able to see also a white circle. This circle is not part of the digital set, but is for the light. Well, it's digital. It's a digital light. It means that we are able to move this digital light. Moving these with mouse and keyboard is easy, you know, but we are using physical sets. So our idea is using physical elements, no? As Andrea said before. Well, in this case, for example, I have these something like, it's a wand for us, okay? And with this wand, we are able to control the lights. Okay, as you can see here, I'm moving and I'm controlling this white circle with my body and with this wand. And as you can see on my face, okay, you are able to see very well. Well, I decided to change my haircut to show you better, no, the situation. I'm joking. And the reflection on my skin, on my head, are changing, and there's a connection in between me and my movement and the digital environment. Of course, if the LED volume are not enough, we are able to add more light, classical lights that you usually have in a classical set. Well, Andrea, in the second part of the presentation, we will be able to control part of these elements. It means that with the virtual production and the multi-user system that we developed, we are able to control in a different way a lot of different elements, different props that we have on a set, physical set or digital set. As I said before, another important part of the virtual production is about the pre-production. During the pre-production, seeing the final result, final set, and defining, for example, the movement of the camera and the position of the stunts, it's quite complex. Well, if you are in a set with a virtual production, and if you're in a set with an optical mock-up system, you can use a virtual camera to observe the digital environment in real time. Well, to do that, we are using this one. This one is, technically speaking, is a virtual camera. Actually, in the real world, there's an handle unit for my hand to manage this tool. There's a screen, and there's a receiver for video signal. It's important observing that there are different dots also on this tool. Why? Because with the mock-up system, we are able to manage and to observe, to define the physical position, the real position of the real elements, and we are able to connect these real elements with a virtual camera in a digital environment. So it means that with these physical elements, I'm able to observe and I'm able to move myself in a digital environment. Now I'm moving into the space, and what you are seeing is exactly the movement that I'm doing in a real world, but you are seeing only the digital environment. This is possible because we are using an engine in real time, and we are using part of the elements that usually you can use for the VFX in camera in real time during the shooting. Well, using this technology in a local situation, so for example in this lab, it's quite complex, okay, but now is more or less is normal. We started to work with these technologies more than 3 years ago, and this kind of technologies now are part of our educational path. But we decided to create something new and something more. During the COVID, we understood that the physical connection with teachers and students were very, very important. And we understood that this kind of connection was possible not only using physical walls, but also using digital platforms and social and so on. So our idea was using the technologies that usually the Hollywood used during the COVID to recreate new educational path. For example, now I'm in Milan. We are in Milan with this lab, with these digital environments, and Andrea is with you in Belgrade, and Andrea, with his computer, on his computer has a real engine, the same software that we are using here, and has the same file that we are using now. We developed a multi-user system with that is able to create a connection in between the file that now Leonardo is using for this background and the same file that Andrea is using on in Belgrade. It means that if Leonardo is making something new, we are able to see, of course, in our physical digital environment. But if Andrea will change something, we will see the same change also here. Please, Andrea. Okay. So in this moment, for example, Andrea moved an animation that we made before, and before was invisible because it was in another part of our environment. Okay, and for example, Andrea, you could also change part of our spaceship. Or, of course, feel free. Okay. As you can see, sorry, as you can see here, is part of the spaceship is changing. This kind of technology, this kind of approach is interesting because it doesn't matter if you are physically here or if you are in another country, or if you are in another lab, or in your room, or in another company. The point is that with this kind of technologies, we are able to create a strong connection. For example, we could use an iPad as a virtual camera, and doesn't matter if you are here or if you are in your room or in another lab. With an iPad, we are able to understand the position of the iPad, and this kind of data are crucial for us to recreate, for example, another virtual camera. The point is that we have to share the control of our lab with a lot of different people. Sometimes these people are students, sometimes are teachers, sometimes are company, and we are able to work all together. This is more or less the crucial elements of our project. Well, I think that's, for me, it's okay. I don't know if you have any question or any doubt. And well, actually, there's another element, another point for new step of this project. We are working with set designer students, and we are creating small diorama elements, something like a small set in scale, and with a new technologies from photogrammetry approach, we are able to create digital twins of these elements. And our idea is using the physical set, the small sets, and the digital twins to recreate and to expand the environment. Of course, using a certain scale, it's important because our space here is not so big. Here we have more or less 40 square meters and classical virtual sets that usually you can use for a big production. For example, in North of Europe, in North of America, is more or less 300 square meters. So there's a scale, there's an important scale. But for our students, it's okay because we have to teach them how to use these technologies. No, it doesn't matter the scale.
Thank you, Emanuele, and thank you, Leonardo, for supporting this demonstration. And well, actually, one last thing, Emanuele, you correctly talked about the pipeline that we are going to use, and these aspects, the idea behind the last part of the project is to apply a real cinema pipeline. So we are going to have all the different departments that usually work in series. So we have the writer and director that take decisions, and then after months, this decision get to the 3D guys who find themselves in the in the difficult position to try to make something look real. Actually, with these techniques, we can bring all these elements together at the same time. Starting in a few weeks, our students from both countries are going to be able to work together on the pre-production aspects. So to create together the imagery, the storytelling, the construction of the project, the conception of the project, and to be able this way to condensate the production moments, the principal photography. Usually you have principal photography and then you have a few weeks or months of post-production. Now we are going to work for 3 months on pre-production and basically 2 weeks to finish the post-production, because it's just editing and a bit of color grading, because everything is done before. And it's done together. This is probably the big game changer in these techniques that allows artists and authors from different countries, different backgrounds to work together and to work together in order to create something that is new, it's different, and it's possibly better looking. That's the idea behind it, at least the aim of this kind of approach to production.
Yeah, that's before I use the word pipeline, because with the virtual production, the pipeline is changing. And this is crucial not only for the technologies or techniques or software or hardware that you're using, but also with the relationship in between the people. When you talk about the relationship, it's not about social relationship, no, but it's about the sharing of knowledge that director, DIOP, camera operator, set designer are able, to share each other. So I think that if the technology is able to create a new level of communication, this is crucial, no? Because when we are working on a movie, the movie is not by one people, one person. Sorry, there are a lot of people that are working all together. If we are able to amplify the relationship in between them, the sharing in between them, I think that the movie, the final result, could be better than using classical technologies or classical approaches.
Thank you very much, Emanuele. Thank you all. Thank you, Andrea. Special thanks, actually, to Emanuele Lomello for clarifying and for bringing these technologies closer to all of us. I had a couple of questions, and the first one would be, what were your students' reactions? Maybe, Andrea, you can answer to that, because we know how our students reacted. Pedja was telling us that they were really motivated in one of the earlier stages of the project that were more animation related. Now let's hear about your experiences that are going more towards cinematography, right?
Actually, at the moment we are at the same time excited and scared, because it's something completely new and different, and they know the basic tools, but they have never used them this way. So the process that we are going to face together, because the idea behind the implementation of this project inside of the learning activities is to have a completely project-based teaching. So just project sessions, and we go straight to work together and find solutions to things together with the students. And they are at the same time excited and scared. They know the basics, but they don't know how they can manage something like this. But it's also true that until we have them try it out, they are never going to learn how to manage something like this. It's not something you can say, yeah, I read, there's some literature about it, and yeah, I shared that with them, but it's, you can read it, but one thing is read it, and one thing is talking with a director which has a different background than yours, and who speaks a different language and lives in a different country with a different history and a different personal history as well. And this part of meeting another way of thinking, another person, is probably something that the students will need to learn in the moment of the project, which is cool. It's better to do it inside of the academy when it's safe and
low risk.
Yes. And there's us to make things work if they don't work. So it will be up to me and Andrea, so to make things work between the two different speaking languages. But it's not just the language, it's actually that post-production crew and production crew often speak a different technical language, even if they speak in English, but what we call texture is painting, and what we call grooming is actually hairstyling, and it's the same thing, it's just done two different ways. So we need to make them understand that, and have them jump into it.
Thank you, Andrea, because you also covered some of the main challenges for you as teachers. That was supposed to be my next question, but you already covered everything. So thank you very much. I don't know if anybody from online do we have that option to wait for the questions, or? Okay, so what are the next steps, literally? Well, maybe that's a question for Elisa, or for Andrea, or for another Andrea. Not in terms of technical project, but in terms of when do we celebrate? When is the party? Yes.
No, for the time being, it is up to our students to get their heads around what they are challenged with. And just as Andrea said, it is a matter of a bit of a different path for them to go down. It's not in-class activities that will sort of find their places and settle down in their minds within months or years to come. It is something that the students will be faced against and challenged immediately. and finding the solution and making the calls on set and basically deciding on spot with deep understanding of the pipeline and potential consequences, not bad ones, but the good ones as well, is something that the students are about to face. And that is the major improvement or the major shift that we will be facing around here in our classrooms as well, and students in their specific activity and performance. In line with that, communication, which is the core of it all, and why we are doing all of this stuff, is actually trying to send out a message with each and every step of our activities. Communication among all of the departments and all of the involved parties is the key of successful participation. Participation doesn't necessarily mean success, but it will lead somewhere, and it's up to us to take it as far as we can. So the next step is infinity.
Okay. Thank you very much. If you allow me just to share my thoughts and impressions at this moment as part of conclusion remarks of today's session. I would like to say that here at SE Belgrade, we actually educate when it comes to the film department. You know that better than myself, but we actually educate students to become all-arounders. So we don't have specific departments for editing, for screenwriting, etc., directing, etc., etc. So at the end of these studies, our students actually become professionals, and then they can choose their own path within the industry, film industry. So with this novelty in education, we are actually bringing one layer more to this all-arounder profile. And what I see as, once again, as my impression is that the limitations between different creative media industries, right, Peja, are becoming blurred and blurred. So we are approaching and we are going closer and closer between different creative media industries. So that would be our closing remarks from my side. Looking forward to, I'm constantly going towards this party, nobody's mentioning that. So I'm looking forward to celebrate the final results in spring, right? In summer, spring, whenever you say, we will come.
No, I think, and thank really to our professor involved, because they respected very well the timing, and so we can absolutely finish in the spring, and we will have this big event. It will be also online. It will be shared, I hope, with many people. And again, also with the agency in UP, I remember again who supported us. I also agree with the fact that part of the journey is also to fail, not just because it's a protected environment, but because is part of the creative process, because as creative we do have our expectations all the time, and failure is absolutely necessary in my opinion. I think what we could bring when we will present to the community, to the European community, this project is also all the difficulties that we were able to overcome to finalize the project. And this is probably the best thing we can bring as a result of Erasmus+. Moreover, I agree with the fact that that was the beginning. We have to say thank you to the European Commission, but moreover, now we know each other very well. And like in the marriage, we started with a wedding, and now let's have kids.
Okay, thank you very much. It means that it will be continued. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you all for following us. Thank you to our guests, and see you soon.